All right, welcome to a new episode of Authortube. And yes, I'm holding this for a reason, and I'll explain in a moment. But the topic of this video is what to do when you write yourself into a corner. So what we're going to do is we're going to define corner first, okay? A corner means that you have the story, whether it's the characters or the circumstance, or the plot lines or whatever, and you have, for whatever reason, accidentally steered yourself to a point where the situation is such where the story cannot move forward. Period. There's nothing the characters can do. There's nothing that could change about the situation. Everything is stuck. And I'm not talking stuck for ideas. I'm not talking stuck as in like writer's block. I'm talking like literally the story itself is stuck. There's no plausible way for you to get your story moving forward after that point. Your characters are, say, for example, in such a situation where basically death is the only option, but you can't have death because you have all this other story up until this point, and you have to finish what you're talking about here, but you can't because everybody's going to die, or the circumstance is the same where the stakes are so high or things are so obscene where you just can't, like, there's nothing you can do. You're stuck. And outside of like pulling in like magic or the rabbit out of your hat and some cliched stupid thing to get yourself out, you're stuck. You're stuck. Okay? So, how do we get out of that, right? So, this is where our little ball of toilet paper comes in, because it's the only thing I could find for a prop for this video. Okay, but this is your story. This is we're going to use a metaphor illustration thing here. This is your story, right? And you have all these pieces to it, because as you can see, there's pieces, right? And it's all here, bundled up, and you're in that corner, and you're stuck. And you just, no matter which way you look at it, you're stuck. There's no way out. Okay, here's how you fix it, okay? First, it might be advisable to take a day or two away from your story simply to get some distance. After that, you have your stuck point. Stop what you're doing, step back, look at your stuck point as objectively as you possibly can. And by objectively, I'm referring to give it a good look. And as I'm looking over this wad of paper, I'm noticing things. I'm noticing little ripples in the paper itself. I'm noticing creases. I'm noticing folds. I'm noticing a strip from a little bit from the story earlier. I'm noticing something that maybe a character had said earlier. I'm noticing a subplot. I'm different things, right? And upon analysis, what you do then is you're still stuck, okay? But now you have these little details, right? You have these little details, and these little details serve as tugging points. It could be the smallest detail. It could be even mundane. It doesn't matter. Because what you're trying to do at this particular point is just get out of that corner. So you find something that maybe the character had said, or maybe earlier on in the story they have a skill set that could be applicable here. You could refer to a plot point that occurred earlier that eventually led to this point and maybe created one of these creases or one of these crevices. And what you try to do is you find something and you slowly pull. And yeah, you know what? You might rip a little bit in the process, but you know what you do is you just keep pulling. A little bit by a little bit. And the illustration is simply you find something that you can grab onto in that stuck situation. And once you have that little something, you start to follow it. You start to write a story out of it. And as you're writing that story out of it, suddenly the path becomes clear to get out of the corner and then continue. Make sense? Right? So it doesn't have to be a grandiose plot point. It doesn't have to be a critical statement. It doesn't have to be anything over the top. It could be, but what I'm saying is, if you find something, even it's like finding a hair partly sticking out of an ice cube, right? Like you find it and you try to tug and tug and tug. Eventually the ice cube is going to melt enough where you can actually pull that hair out, right? So it's the same idea here. You're finding something to hold on to, something that even if it's just a little small path in the road, a little tiny walking space, you could take that and then start going down it. And you might segue a little bit from the main story, but what you can do after that, and then you can curve it back, and you're back on track. And then your story can continue forward as per your original plan. So that's how you get out of a corner. And then again, we're defining corner as in the characters, the situation, the plot, everything frozen. There's nothing you can do that could plausibly get out of it. So therefore, the technique to get out is to find that thread. No different than undoing a ball of string or a ball of spaghetti, call it what you want. But you get the idea. And that's what you do. And it takes time. It takes some analysis. And it'll take some thinking. And even if you find a thread, here's another little minor trick, and then we'll wrap it up, is even if you find a thread and you're like, ugh, what am I going to do with this? You know what? Take note of what that thread is, and then give it to your subconscious. And your subconscious will take that thread, eventually create a rope. And then it'll give you the rope when it's ready, and you can tug on, and there you go, right? So that's how you get yourself out of a corner. Time, patience, observation, and eventually you're going to find something which will get you out. Okay? Okay. So, me and the toilet paper ball say thank you for tuning in. Please do subscribe. Please do comment. Please do like. Thank you, toilet paper ball. Anyway, see you next Authortube video. Cheers.